restore my planters. The floating planters for the pond. These were the original planters here. And I'm going to add this mesh to them. With the lava rock that I'm using, they're too heavy for the lava rock. Or actually with the lava rock in them, they're too heavy. So I'm trying to find a way to make them lighter and at the same time give my plants more support. I need the rock in there because of the bacteria that forms around them. So the more bacteria I have in there, the better for the pond. So I'm gonna start with this planter here. So what I'm trying to do here basically is to create a more, I guess, shallow, I'm not sure what the word is, but less space for the rock to grow. So I'm going to put the mesh at an angle. I'm gonna put it at an angle there. See if you guys can see it. There it is. I'm gonna put it at an angle so I don't have to add so much rock to it. It will do two things. It will create more support for my plants, because right now I have a feeling that the reason they're not thriving is because they have a lot of movement. Well, plants don't do well if there's a lot of movement, I don't think. So this is going to be another way to try to hopefully fix the problem I'm having where my plants are not thriving the way they're supposed to. It could be the water, but if it is this, well, we're going to try to fix it. So I'm going to put one of these meshes on each side of the basket. And I'll show you guys how it looks. So here it is, guys. Mesh is on here. What I did is that I created a triangle. I'm not sure if you guys can see it here, but it made this kind of in a concave shape so I can fit less rocks. So it won't be as heavy. This is what you call a gutter mesh. I'm sure you can find it in bigger rolls. I had to put two together because I got them on clearance, so I'm going to use what I have. And I have these planters and the holes were too big. You could buy smaller planters and avoid all of this. Another thing I wanted to mention, the reason that I use floating planters is because I don't have shelving in my pool. It is an above ground pool, so I do not have any shelving, so I'm having to get creative and have floating planters. So this is what I'm using, guys. Gutter guard plastic mesh. I'm sure you guys can find the mesh in a larger size, but I found these like on clearance, so that's what I'm using. So now that we have the meshed in, you're gonna measure the pool noodles. Another thing I wanted to mention, you can cover these with burlap. I decided not to do that anymore because the burlap decomposes into the pond and it adds more nutrients to the pond. So I'm still in the process to figure out what other plastic material I can use to cover these. Personally, I love color, so I'm gonna leave them uncovered. The problem I found with that is that they decompose a lot faster if they're exposed to the sun like that, you know, without anything on them. So I am going to have to find a way to cover them, to shelter them a little bit more. I'm only going to make one of these first, try it out until I figure out what to use to cover these so they don't deteriorate as fast with the sun. The sun eats them up very quick. With the burlap, they'll last up to 6 months, but again, the burlap will decompose. It'll end up looking like this. I have very hard water, so that's what those white rings are. So it ends up looking like this. You see all this there, it's already pieces that have fallen into the water, into the pond, and decomposed. See that? So that's what we're trying to avoid. You don't want to have so many nutrients falling into the pond. So I could have done these long ways like I had shown you guys before, but I decided to go to the sides instead. That'll save me some of the pool noodles. I'll use less of them, number one. Number two, I want this mesh in here to stay intact. I was pushing that mesh down too much and it was going to defeat the purpose of creating that concave shape. Plus, not to squeeze my mesh, I'm going to put them here. It'll have less weight, so we're not going to need to have the pool noodles being so large, and they'll still hold the planner in place or above water. That works a lot better. Once you put these here, you get a zip tie and attach them here. I'll show you guys once it's done. One thing you guys do need to make sure is that you tie all this mesh all around the planner. You don't want your rocks and under here if you're using two pieces. Make sure that there's no area where it's lifting up. You don't want those rocks, in my case, I don't want those rocks falling into the pond because they could be sharp, and if we ever need to go in there and do any maintenance, we'll end up stepping on those rocks. It'll be painful, and it can create a hole in the liner as well, a tear. So these planners are mostly for pool ponds like mine. That's what these planners are perfect for, or water floating planners are perfect for. The pool ponds that have no shelving, or even people that have shelving if they want something floating up in the above the water or on the water surface. This is one idea. So I got the bigger zip ties, and these are going to be for my pool noodles. Keep them in place. If I were covering these planners with burlap or that plastic that I'm going to look for, you would put your mesh here and then you would put your zip tie over this. I'm going to just leave them in this color for now until I find something that I can cover them with, or I might not, because I also bought a bunch of pool noodles over the summer, so I have quite a bit of them. Should be okay just replacing them from time to time. But if you want less maintenance, then definitely cover them up with something dark, something solid preferably, that will not dissolve in the water. And that way you can just do them maybe once a year. Now I will bring my rocks and my plant that I'm going to put in here. Check this out, guys. Look at those beautiful roots. So winter might not be the time to transplant anything for most things, but these guys were floating just on a planner alone without any cover of the roots other than the water. So by me putting them in this planner with rocks around them and giving them more stability, they should do better. Plus the roots would be covered with the rocks, so it'll keep them away from the frost even more. So you simply put your plant in the middle of the planner, add your rocks around it, and you're done. You put it into your pond. I think this is going to work out really, really good. It'll create my surface for bacteria to grow on. That's what the rocks do. It'll create stability for my plants and protection from the winter and the summer. Our summers get really hot here, so I do need to protect my plants also from the summer. Love it, guys. Now I just got to make sure that this is balanced out. Look at that. That is awesome. Looks a lot better. It's very little rock. You see there? The bottom is, it's just like a triangle there. And so all I have with rock is that center. My plants aren't moving anywhere. They're stable. They will have protection from the cold. I had originally said, guys, that you could always go with a smaller planter than do this technique, but I changed my mind. I realized that in a smaller planter, your roots would come out of the planter too fast, and the koi do tend to eat the roots. So by doing it this way, the roots would stay under here, still protected by a planter before they go into the water surface. So keep that in mind. You can go either way, but this would essentially give you more protection on your roots for your plants. I figure once they come out of this one, it'll be fine if the koi eat them. That's fine, but it will not disturb my plant. My plant will still stay alive and have plenty of roots to thrive. So those little ones are watercress, and that is my other daylily plant that is doing good. Inside of here, I'm not sure what's in there. I'm just going to throw it in there. If not, come spring, I can plant something in there. So here are the finished planters, guys. I'm absolutely in love with the way they came out. Hope you liked the video. Subscribe, and see you guys soon.